Hey guys, it's Heather from Here She Grows, and it's finally happening. The extension of my kidney bean bed in my front yard is going. I have the markings in place, you can see it here. And if you follow me in stories or my posts on Instagram last week, I was kind of explaining to you the process of calling Julie. I live in Illinois, so you have to call Julie, Julie. The number is 811 when you're digging. And I know I've got a gas line running through the center of my front yard, so I wanted to be sure I knew what I was working with so that I can avoid those kind of hairy spots in the garden. So that's something you should always do when you're going to be digging, especially for big root balls and that sort of thing. So the utility company came out, they marked everything so I know where I can and can't dig, and I am completely fine. There's nothing running through this bed. I was debating whether or not to extend the bed, and many of you said to extend it all the way to the driveway, but the fact of the matter is I don't have the budget to plant it right now, so I'm only going to do work with the space that I have, like small chunks. And that's pretty much how I've approached my entire garden, is bits and little pieces at a time. Otherwise it becomes too overwhelming for me physically and financially. So a little bit here and there, and this is my little bit for this bed right now. So this kidney bean bed has been here for many years. I've got an autumn blaze maple behind the camera. So it makes this location a very dry spot. It's also an extremely cold spot. This is the north side of my property. So I was picking plants, the woodies or trees and shrubs. That's what I always start with, are trees and shrubs when I'm establishing a new garden. And so I found a tree that I'm absolutely in love with. I've wanted it for years. It's a Cornus moss or Cornelian cherry dogwood. The variety is called Saffron Sentinel, and I am thrilled to have it in my garden. When I pick plants for my garden, I want things that have what they call multi-season interest. So it's got to look good throughout the year, not just during the time it's in flower and then it's done. There's nothing interesting about it for the rest of the year. That's not the case with Saffron Sentinel. This one, it's very cold hardy zones 4 to 8. It flowers early spring, so yellow, kind of a sulfur colored flower, and then it leaves out in this deep green leaf, and then it fruits. So the fruit is this red fruit, and the birds love the fruit. It's also edible for humans. People make jams and jellies out of it. The bark, as the tree matures, the bark starts to exfoliate, and the fall color is supposed to be this vibrant, this ruby red fall color. So there's a lot of cool things about this plant. So I'm thrilled to find it. I found 2 at my local Home Depot a couple weeks ago, and I snapped the prettiest one up. So I'm glad to have it here. It's to be about 20 feet tall and about 12 feet wide, so it's perfect. It's a very columnar shape, very symmetrical tree. So I think it's going to be beautiful here. And I'm also working in a Pinpoint Blue Hemiseprus and a steady Eddy Viburnum. I think they're going to look gorgeous here. And for right now, it's just the woodies. It's trees and shrubs to get started. I did consider taking this bed all the way to the driveway, but the fact of the matter is I don't have the physical ability right now. It's a lot to take on, or the financial ability. And it's kind of been the case, that has been the case for the last 20 years. I bite off a chunk of the garden every year, and I work on that until I get it the way I want it, and then I move on to the next one. So that's where we're at today. You can see I've got my line here. I'm going to plant these first, and then I'm going to dig the edge around and flip that soil back into the bed, and then we're going to sheet mulch it, throw the mulch on top of it, water it in, and we're good to go. So let's get started. When you're digging your hole, you want the hole for your tree to be twice the width of the container that it's in. So it's going to be a pretty good size hole, but it's going to be at the same depth as it's set in the container. When I'm planting my trees and shrubs, I'm not amending the soil at all. I'm just putting it in so it can get used to the native soil. I'm not adding any compost, no fertilizer. I'm just letting it do its own thing and get used to the environment that it's forced to grow in. And unfortunately, my soil is terrible. There's a lot of construction debris and rock in here from when the house was built 20 years ago. They dumped a lot of stuff and just dumped soil over it and planted grass and called it a day. So I'm running into that here. So I might have to rinse a little bit of the soil off the bottom of this brick wall because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it all the way in there, but we'll see. So maybe you've heard the expression, every tree has a face. So that means it has a good side and a bad side. So what I'm doing is I'm just turning this, and it's flopped over, but I'm turning it to get it to the side that I want to see from the view from our house. So I'm just going to keep turning it until I get it the way I like it, and then I'm going to backfill it with just the native soil. And fortunately it wasn't that hard. I had the right depth right off the bat, so that never happens. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but this is the next step to be planted. This is a little Pinpoint Blue Hemiseprus from Proven Winners. And this is gonna get to be about 5 to 6 feet wide, and I think about 18 to 20 feet tall, but it's a slow grower, so it's not in any rush to get bigger. But I always like to incorporate evergreens or conifers into my bed because that's what gives you winter interest. So this is gonna go about 10 feet over from the dogwood I just planted. And I am going to give it a little, when I get it out of the can, I am going to give it a little bit of Espoma biotone just to help it set roots. The biotone has mycorrhizae in it, which encourages root development, and I want this to grow, get as good a start as possible here. So we'll get this one in, and then we'll move on to the Viburnum. The next one going in is a steady Eddy Viburnum. It's got a very linear habit, about 4 to 5 feet tall and wide. Part sun to sun. This is going to get morning and early afternoon sun, and then in the shade from the autumn blaze. Hi guys! In the shade from the autumn blaze maple later in the day. So you can see here that I've already gone through and edged this bed and turned the grass back over into the bed. So I'm not having to bag anything, which is the beauty of sheet mulching. By covering up all of the grass, I'm not digging anything up. I'm keeping the nutrients here. I'm not having to haul anything away. All of that grass will decompose back into the soil, and then it essentially feeds the soil. So I'm going through and piecing the cardboard pieces together much like you would a puzzle, just fitting them in around everything that I've planted. And I've made sure that on the cardboard, I've made sure that I've removed all of the stickers, any tape, all of that's gone. And then I hose it all down to keep it in place and soak it really well. And then I'm gonna go through and mulch it. So you can probably tell that I've filmed this over the course of several days because I've got several outfit changes here, but sometimes that's just the way it goes. But I want to show you the finished product, and I'm going to flip this screen around and you can check it out. Okay, so this is it. It's kind of done, not completely, but I put a few things in that I wasn't planning to put in, but I had them in other parts of the garden, and I also received some samples that I thought would be really awesome out here. So that's the steady Eddy Viburnum. That is my Pinpoint Blue Hemiseprus. I caged it because if you follow me on Instagram, you can see I have some serious rabbit, some bunny issues going on. So I caged the small things, and also I have children going through here and stuff, and I just want to make sure that it doesn't get trampled. And this is one of the additions that I added last week. That is the Ringo Double Pink rose from Proven Winners. Gets 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. Very disease resistant. You don't have to deadhead it. flowers throughout the season, very fragrant. This is the lilac crush hibiscus. That's a perennial hibiscus as well. I think that's in limited availability this year because it is a new plant. And then of course the Cornus moss or Cornelian cherry dogwood, Saffron Sentinel. And then I saw some alliums at Walter's Gardens last year, and this is the bubble bath allium, and they were kind enough to send me a bunch of them, so they're already looking great. But allium you can't go wrong with. They are tough, they can take a lot of heat, they can take bad soil. I have all of the above. And then this is hydrangea paniculata. This is pufferfish. That's also a new introduction. Looks nice and healthy right here, but I have a little touch up here to do. I've got a little pile of mulch left over, so I can touch up these areas. But you can see the shape of the bed is like these little lips here. I can clean up with the cardboard and everything, but we've not had a lot of rain to really hold this stuff down. So I'll just keep messing with it, and I'll get this planted maybe in the fall if I have the cash. But so far so good, and this should fill in really, really nice. So that's it, guys. That is my new front border, and it's a work in progress, as every garden is. But thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.